Thank you guys for being another episode of Dynasty Queens. I am Mia J. Beautiful host,
Pamela Nicole. What's up?
Pamela Nicole. Don't you forget, before we get started, y'all, today's episode was brought to you by our official sponsor, Fashion Nova. Check out that 40% off on all fashion. Go ahead and use our code Mia J sent you. Fashion Nova, baby. You guys. Okay. We got a really special guest in the Dynasty Queen's house tonight. If you don't know who she is, clearly you don't have social media. Clearly you're under a rock. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the beautiful Esmy V in the
Thank you.
Yes.
Welcome, Esmy.
Thank you.
For those who are not familiar, go ahead and school them on where you came from, like what it is that you do, your claim to fame. Like, let's just give them a little rundown on SUV.
Okay, so I would like to identify myself as this multifaceted woman. I own several businesses. I fully do marketing. I help small businesses turn their followers into consumers. I'm also a life coach. I do a lot of public speaking events. I trade full time in the stock market, and I do a variety of different modelings. I act. I do whatever provides me a nice source of income, and I try to learn it to its full extent, and then I try to teach people as well.
You got
So let's go back a little bit, Esme. So tell the people where are you originally from?
So I'm Dominican. I came to the United States when I was 7, but I'm probably the most Dominican person you're gonna meet because I think in Spanish, I speak it, I dance, you know.
Love it. Okay, so how did you get like your start? I guess I know you said that you got into modeling and stuff. Like, where did all that originate from?
You know, I'm gonna tell you exactly what I tell everybody that asks me this question. Social media was not in my forecast. I actually did corporate America for years. I worked at New York Presbyterian Hospital for 10 years. I did their IT. I've done arbitration. I have my degrees. So social media was definitely not something that I was thinking was gonna happen. But what happened was my page was private for a very long time. I was very reserved. I'm like probably the most private but outgoing and transparent person. You know, I at that time I was like, I have a corporate job. There's no need for me to like really share. And at the time, the person who I was dating, he was like, you have so much to share um, to the world. And we happened to be going away to go to California that weekend. And we were going because we wanted to go skydive. And he was just like, just for this weekend, just take your social media off private and let's do this. And that weekend I blogged and I had like 10,000 followers that weekend.
dang.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, I was like, I have a voice. Like, let me start using my voice. So I started using, beautiful pictures to captivate the audience. But my captions told my story. So in my captions, I talked about things like being raped, things like being in foster care, things like being a mom at 14 years old. But they were all it was strategic. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, and then as people started to like really want to engage, then people started reaching out to me, wanting me to do promo for their businesses. And I said, yo, now that I have an audience, I need to now do something with it. And it has slowly but surely turned into a business. And for the last 4 years, I'm here, and thankfully I've just been growing. And I do this full time.
I love that for you. You mentioned, you did go through, like, you did have to come out over adversity and go through things in your past and stuff. But as a life coach, do you kind of like engage in that audience and try to like let them know, hey, I've been through like hell and back. I've gone through things. You can overcome this too. Like, what is your life coaching like? Like, what do you tell people usually?
So like I said before, I'm very transparent. I feel like what we lack is being human. It's letting people know that being vulnerable, there's actually a lot of power in that. Uh, and for too long, I was very quiet about the things that had happened to me, and that was serving no purpose because there's so many people that go through it but are scared, are afraid to speak. There's so many different. I always say like every head is a world of its own, and all we have to do is share it so that we can connect. So in my life coaching, I'm just very transparent. It's not like a therapy session. It's more let's meet eye to eye, and let's not so much focus on pain and trauma. Let's focus on growth and beauty and love and joy, and then let's do something with that. That's how I direct to my clients.
I love that.
That's really, really cool that you do it that way and you choose that perspective because it's more like, I think sometimes when people say therapy session, it seems so like staged and, you have a certain, you spit into certain box. But it seems like you're just like upfront and direct with your, I don't know if you call them client or, whatever. You kind of tell them like, be honest about it. It's really amazing to do that. Now, I do, what's the first time you experienced, okay, it's my trauma, and what led to that moment?
I think that I'm just gonna just put it out there. I started. I've been working on myself for a very, very long time. However, there was a point in my life when I realized I was actually living just to come up off that trauma. I wasn't actually living the life that I wanted to live. So I was just surviving. And I had took off like a long time of being in relationships because I kept telling myself like I need to work on myself. And then I got involved with the same person, and I realized that I wasn't living. I was trying to meet all these criterias, even down to going to law school, my career path. Like everything was just about the world and about other people. It was never about me.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I decided that I wanted to live. And the reason why I say my last relationship because he was a lot younger than me. And before I decided to jump in that relationship, I'm like, what is the world gonna think? I had all these reservations, and I told myself, I was like, you know, it's really your life. Like everything can change the moment you decide you wanted to change. So that's what I did. I woke up every day, and before I got out of my bed, I kept saying to myself repeatedly, I want to be the woman that I constantly talk about. I don't just want to be a meme. I don't just want to be a thought. I don't just want to be a mood board. I really want to live like this. I really want to feel like the things that I say. And that's when I kind of took over my life, and I just really started living. And I started sharing my story because I know that so many people feel alone, even in crowded rooms. And I no longer wanted to feel that. And I no longer wanted to provide that to the people around me. So that's what happened.
Wow, that's powerful too. Just because I notice like a lot of women they go through things in life and it's triggering. Any little will just trigger somebody, and they don't even know it. It's just out of habit, out of that in those instances. And just for you to say, wake up and say, you know what, enough's enough. I can do this. I'm going to do it. Not just I can do it, but I'm going to. And you executing your life the way you want it to is phenomenal, honestly. Because it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of just bravery just to do that, and wake up and say, this is what I choose to do.
Well, thank you. And I hope that I can bring that to the table just constantly because I feel like everything that we want is on the other side of fear. And I'm just trying to let people know like you have to let go of that fear because you're never gonna live. You're just gonna exist. It's kind of like robotic.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, people don't understand, like, if you're not true to yourself, there's no way that you be a good partner, be a good best friend, be a good or a relative. Like, if you're not good with self, and it takes a long time. I don't think like personally, it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I actually really appreciated who I am, and I've appreciated. Esme, can you like like, did it take a while for you to be like, hey, like, I am, that bitch. Like, I am that person.
It's so funny that you mentioned the 30s, because I feel like when I turned 30, my life just started evolving, and it's almost like I knew, like, they asked you on the day of your birthday, like, do you feel older? Like, I never felt anything, but when the day I turned 30, I get goosebumps, like, just thinking about it, because I knew that my life was going to change tremendously. And I feel like the older we get, a lot of people joke about it, but I feel like the older you get, the more, if you're really living life to learn, the more you acknowledge your worth. And I'm not talking about a worth like how what people tell you that worth is supposed to be. I mean, like, really understanding that you were put here to realize a path. You know what I mean? To, like, really be something that you're proud of, not that everybody else agrees of, but something you can live with. And I feel like in my 30s, I started to really learn my worth. I really started to learn that, I'm a woman of purpose, and I'm a woman that can change lives, but I need to work on me. So I always, like, I've been a lot of different sizes in my life. So throughout those times in my life, my self-esteem and my worth weren't always at its best and at its peak, because, again, like I mentioned before, I was living for everybody else, and I was doing things because I was a teenage mom, so I had a lot of doors closed in my face, and I always wanted to kind of, like, prove people, like, yeah, I did it, I got money, I got this, and it was all for the wrong reasons. So when I started to realize, like, not that I'm that B, but, like, I'm that goddess. Like, I started to breathe that air. I started to feel like that within myself. Like, that's when my life really started transforming. When I stopped allowing negativity to enter my mind, that's when the change started to happen.
I love
That's
that. And
powerful. That's so powerful.
it is. And you notice too, once you become that, like, you're reborn in a sense, and you become that positive person, your your group of people changes up too, because you attract what you give out in this universe. Like anybody else that was just kind of like, not for you, or just really negative. It's just kind of like you outgrow yourself, your past stuff, and then you outgrow people at the same time. It's that ever evolving change is a beautiful thing.
That's true. The only thing that I will say about that is that you definitely do outgrow yourself, but we hold on to habits, and we hold on to things that feel so familiar, so they feel comfortable. And I think that that's why throughout life, throughout even after my 30s, I've gone through different stages, because for so long I was accustomed to being a certain way, or to keeping these people around. And that's when my comfortability came in. So things were still lingering. So I had not reached my full potential. And I feel like now that I'm able to see, like, if I see a red flag, I cut it off immediately. Not because people are replaceable, but because I know that that doesn't align with my next move. So I feel like that's when you really level up, when you're able to see those red flags, or when you're able to see that you're not being your best, not doing what you need to do, and you fix it. Like, that's the real level up.
It's like so many different, like, just things to about, because as young women, we're so self-conscious. At least most of us are. It's just like, I feel when we're really young, before we get into, like, school and getting around different people, we have more like a sense of self, and we're more driven to, like, certain goals. Like, this little kids say, oh, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be whatever. And then as you get older, the dream kind of, like, dies down. So what would you say? I know you said you have daughters and everything. What would you say to that little girl that's, like, maybe 8 to 10 years old, who's dreaming, and, you don't want her dream to get deferred? How would you steer her to, like, continue on that path of, like, going for your goals?
Um, when I was never myself. um when we are born, and, like, some of us have parents, and we have family, and we have structure, but then there's some of us that don't. So in my case, I always made up, like, role models. I always thought about what I would want to be as a woman, and that's what I was looking forward to. So when I had my daughter, what I did with her was, like, I would allow her to dress herself. I would allow her to figure out her own foods. I never imposed these things. I gave her tools as opposed to telling her what to take. You know what I mean? And I try to teach her my ideals, but not embedded them in her, because what happens is you need to develop who you are. You need to understand who you are. You need to fall on your face. You need to make those mistakes. And what I will say is embrace every single moment. Attack your emotions when they happen, let them flow and figure out why you're feeling them. I would say block out the noise, and focus on what feels good, because we live in a society where if you're holy, you're bad. If you're not holy, you're bad. Like, criticism is going to come from everywhere. Staying true to yourself and finding in what direction your life is going to be comfortable for you, because you're the only one really living it, is and just never giving up. My thing is, I don't care how many times I fall, it's how I respond to that fall. And for me, I know that every time I fall, I'm gonna come stronger and I'm gonna come kicking and screaming. So do that, because at the end of the day, when you're able to smile because of something that you created, that, like, no money can really um like no money can, I don't even know, I get so passionate about it, I can't even express it. I feel like no money can compare to the joy of achieving that. You know what I'm saying? And achieving, like, true peace and true happiness. And also put the value on the right things. Like, for me, something that I value is love. Not necessarily love to a man, but just like love to the people that mean something, because those are people that mold you and change your life. So that's what I would say. I would say hold on to love and hold on to you.
I love that. It's just so hard sometimes. People don't, like, they lose sight of that. You know what I mean? It's just redundant every day. Like, they go through the same thing, and some people have things that they're just not even really grasping and realizing is an issue until it just unfolds into something that it shouldn't be. And like you're saying, self love is so important. So going through the motions every single day, you have to take me time. You have to stop, take a breath, and really just evaluate life.
Yeah, that's
You
super, super important. I used to think, my mentality has shifted so much. I actually, like, this summer is really, really hard for me, because I went through like a life changing experience where I actually almost died. Like, the doctors told me to call my family, and I was in the hospital for 30 something days. And it was really, really hard, but it gave me so much time to understand, um what love really, really is. And I'm not talking about, like I said before, not love to your partner, but like loving yourself. I used to think that getting my nails done and going on trips and looking good was love, or just like even being successful, with self love. But now I understand that being gentle to yourself, not criticizing yourself is real love, not comparing yourself to somebody else is real love. I understand that being able to block negativity is real love. Being compassionate with yourself, like, that's real love. Crying, that's real love. Being vulnerable, like I mentioned before. And those are all things that nobody ever taught me. And I don't think, like, we're sent to go to school where we're taught that getting married and being a mom and being a sister, like, these are all things that are part of life. But I don't think that we're ever taught to sit with yourself and learn how to not get bored when you by yourself, because you can be your own entertainment, and I feel like just like real love, real understanding, real grace, because I was not always this graceful. I think that those are all good things.
But that's okay though. And you said you weren't always this graceful. I mean, as human beings, we have to go through the growing pains. All of us do. None of us are immune to it. And what you're saying is really, to me, the way I interpret it, is like you're removing all the superficial things that are embedded in our heads when we're really little about what love is. It's so much deeper. So when you get to that raw, like, emotion, I think that's when you actually start to understand who you are from the inside out. And I don't think until you've actually experienced a little bit of it, I think some people that will watch this won't understand. But once you get there, it's like, because I'm in the middle of it. I'm not at the end of my journey, but I'm right in the middle. Like, yeah, I feel so much better. Because when you get in tune with yourself, it's just like, wow, just like a release, you
It's
know?
almost like we're forced daily. Like, you hear all these positive messages, and it's like you're forced to like keep pushing even when you don't want to get up, because I know that I've been there. And I still put myself in that situation because I want to get places, so I still push through. But like really like digging deep and allowing that pressure to take you down and then you lifting yourself up, like that's so important. And that's definitely part of the journey. And I'm loving it. I'm embracing it. It's definitely changed me as a human being. Like honestly, now things happen, and when negativity comes or when positivity comes, like it doesn't matter because it doesn't move me. Because I'm really literally in my own space. Understanding who I am and living my life for me. So nothing else matters.
Nia, she said something that really just kind of stirred me because for me, I've always been the type, I try to see the good in everyone. And I've learned now that you can't do that. That's like one of my flaws, and you saying that, you immediately cut off the negativity. I have gotten to the point where it's like I see red flags, but I proceed with caution. I haven't fully learned to not see the good, but I have learned something going towards it, which will eventually I'll get to that point to just, if I see something, it's like, I don't know.
Them red flags.
Exactly.
And I've learned that we
Look,
have discernment. So you know when it's not right.
mm-hmm, for
We
sure.
ignore it a lot of the time. I think we ignore it sometimes when it comes to men, when it comes to friendships. But like when you get a bad vibe from somebody, you just know, even if they seem like everything is cool, it's just something off, and when that happens, it's kind of like, okay, that's the first, I mean, that's a major red flag. And for some reason, a lot of us don't listen to our intuition. What would you say, Esme, to people that are struggling with listening to that little inner voice in their head?
So I've had a lot of instances where I heard it and I was just like, well, I want to go through it, so I'm gonna go do it. Because I'm a Leo and I'm an adventurous like that. But I will say this: avoid the heartache. Yeah, avoid the heartache. At some point in life, you need to stop saying, "Oh, I healed from that," when you have every opportunity to just bypass that. You know, so like my thought is, if you have somebody and they're doing you wrong, there's somebody else. If you work in a job and that job is stressing you, there's another job. There's always a next level to this thing called life. You just have to kind of walk through it. You're never like, what are you missing? Pain, hurt, anger. You know what I mean? Like, why even go through that when you can move on to the next person? Like, even now in my dating life, if I'm dealing with somebody, I may like them, but if I don't see what it is that I want, I tell them like, move out the way because I'm looking for my husband. You know what I mean? And that's it. If I have a friend who's not feeding me as much as I'm feeding them, move out the way because I have so much love to give to my next friend. You know what I mean? And I do that with family. I do that with anybody who comes in my life. If we're not serving a purpose, if we're not pouring into each other's cups, like be okay with letting that go. Because then all you have is horror stories to tell. I'm personally in my life, I'm done with horror stories. I'm ready for my forever happily ever after. And I think that a lot of people just identify so much more with hurt and pain and struggle that they don't allow their happily to come in. So just bypass that and walk straight into your happiness.
And see, I'm going to actually tell one of my girlfriends this, that she needs, I'll get you in contact with her because she needs to talk to you, girl. This has been a 5-year situation. She has had 4 different men in her life, and she's had a baby for each one. And she keeps finding the same person in the same person in a different person. It's like opening a box of shit, and it's just packaged differently, literally. Like they're nice for like a 6-month period, the honeymoon period. They're great, and then the abuse, then the verbal abuse, then the neglect. Like it's just an ongoing cycle. So for someone like that, I definitely get the hell out of my way.
Yeah, no, I think that what happens is, like I said, people identify what hurt, and pain, and a lot of us have issues stemming from like childhood and not being loved correctly or not understanding what love is. And I feel like women, like us women of color, we've always been told this is the way. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to hold your man, not you have to hold down a good man. You know what I mean? Not you don't have to sacrifice your being, your morals, your love for a person. You have to, like, you guys have to be swimming in the same direction in order to make it out. And I think, that's what the problem is also, which is something that I struggled with coming up. I didn't understand that my value wasn't in accepting what others did to me. My real value is in me standing up and allowing people to feel the effect of me not being around. So like where I'm at in life, like I won't even argue. You do something that you're not supposed to do. Like we talk about it, I express that. If you don't feel like I'm valuable enough to change, then I dismiss myself. We don't really need to, there's really no conversation. I don't need no apologies. I don't need, it's whatever. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I need to account for the time that I have left in this world, and I plan on doing that very happily. And I think people think that, oh, my time is when I'm old. Like your time could be right now, because when I went into the hospital, I was up here. Okay, I was laughing and giggling the day before, and the next thing I know, I'm being told call my family. So, yeah.
It can be so sudden all of a sudden, like you just never know when our time is. Now, I want to go back a little bit. Something very poignant that you said not that long ago about even with family, knowing when to distance yourself. So I think a lot of the time we kind of, people in general, may shy away from like, okay, well, blood is thicker than water. We got to stick together. But I mean, when is the right time? And then how do you go about knowing to like push that certain relative that's just really negative and really doesn't have the most beneficial influence being around? How do you go about handling that situation when it's family?
The thing is that's another one of the things that we're told, that blood is thicker than water, and that you have to hold on to these relationships that should have been cut off, at the root. Me personally, I wasn't always in foster care. I went into foster care when I was 13, and for many reasons, which that will be a whole nother episode, right? But I cut off my mom for a long time, and I actually have an extended family of people who are amazing to me. And I reached out to my mom. My daughter had cancer when she was like 10, and I reached out to my biological mother because I needed that, and at the time, she wasn't giving me what I needed as a daughter. So I had to like completely cut her off for several years. But now, now that I have worked on myself and I know how to incorporate her into my life, she doesn't have to be like this with me. I was able to meet her and understand and respect her to where she doesn't affect me, to where she's not draining to me. So it's all about setting boundaries that are important to you. Your boundaries are not negotiable. I can't sit there and have a conversation with her and she's telling me, but no, you have to accept this. I don't accept that. But guess what? When we are comfortable and we're hanging out, like this works for me. But do I want to be in an environment where you make me uncomfortable? That's not negotiable. So I feel like at any point where you feel like your peace is being altered, you cut it off. And cut off doesn't mean I don't ever have to speak to you, or we can't be at family functions. Like, you have to learn that every battle is not meant to be fought in
Yeah.
every place, but you need to be comfortable enough with yourself to be able to function. Like, I cut ties with a lot of people when I went into the hospital, people that I thought were going to be in my life forever, but they show me different. But we are still in the same rooms, and there's no beef. You know what I mean? There's no beef because I'm comfortable where I'm at in life. There was a lot of things said when they thought I was gonna die. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have to clear nothing up. I don't have to tell my side of the story because I'm comfortable where I'm at. So yeah, we're able to be in the same room, and I'm gonna be woo woo, and I'm gonna be the person that everybody knows me to be because business carries on, and I'm comfortable with me. You still need to work on you. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's just, again, it's your life. So everything around it and anybody around it, they get the cutoff. Not like the immediate scissors, but like, you don't have the benefit of altering my mood. I control the temperature in my room at all moments, and that's it.
That's powerful. So powerful.
You said your boundaries are.
Non-negotiable.
Heard it.
Non-negotiable. Non-negotiable securities. You
You
know,
need to make
and
it
it's just
on
like
there.
with family, it's just like, man. But at the same time, you have to do what's right for you. And I like what you said, the way that I'm interpreting what you said with your mother is, she has a certain role in your life, but in order to protect yourself from disappointment, you don't expect her to come at it with that, 10th power of what mamas usually come with. You're like, okay, she's here.
Yeah, I'm not a slave to her behavior. You know what I mean? You don't have to, you don't owe anybody pain or hurt. You don't know. It's okay for us to be different people. I can accept you where you at, but we just got to keep that distance. Like, I'm going to be around you as much as I can tolerate and be happy being with you. But me and her like this, I really like her. She's cool.
Yeah, it's healthier that way sometimes.
It is. I feel like a lot of people these days, like when it comes to like friendships and like relationships, I think a lot of times they fail because people hold these high expectations of other people. And it's like you can't control somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you one of the best things that I did. And I think my breakup made me realize that how to love people without ownership, without thinking that they're supposed to be a specific type of way. We're all built different. We all take things in different ways, and learning how to love people without that attachment is such a beautiful thing because I know, and I always like to talk about like the things that I went through because I like to let people know I've been through it. So I've been the crazy girlfriend, I've been the insecure girlfriend, I've been the girl going through a phone. Like, I've been there, done that. I'm not immune to it, but it took me understanding that people are gonna be who they are. It's so much better to allow people to accept you, in your own skin and in your own thoughts because there's somebody for everybody, and that means with friendships and everything. So I feel like um, the biggest lesson that I took away from that breakup was, I don't own anybody, and I'm not entitled to change who people are. But when I see something that does not mesh with me, it's okay for me to walk away.
As you should. As you should. I just think like a lot of women, they feel like, okay, once I'm in a situation, maybe in particular with a man or, a relationship, they feel like, okay, well, let's try to make it work. Let's try to see the best. Like Pam, you said, you try to look at the best in somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So when is that breaking point where you're like, you know what? What's the fine line between really giving up too early, like not even giving it a chance versus, oh, hell no, this is some absolute bullshit. Like, mm-mm.
Because when you enter relationships, whether they be friendships, and I keep saying that because it's like relationships are just large. But I feel like when you're fighting against someone who in your life to protect you and shelter you and love you and care for you and do all these things. If you're fighting against them, then that's the time to walk away. But when there's there's always hope when the love is genuine, when people are not purposely hurting each other. You know what I mean? When somebody is willing to listen, to hear you, to understand you, and you're willing to do the same, then that's when you keep going. But when you have someone who's like beating on you, someone who's constantly cheating on you, they don't care about you because both of those things affect your health. You know what I mean? So if you don't care about my continued existence, why am I with you?
Exactly.
If you're telling somebody like, oh, you're not being supportive, and that doesn't change, why are you there? If your friends are treating you better than your partner, why are you there? If your partner doesn't really want a relationship but you do, why are you there? These are all the things that you need to identify. I think that back in the day, relationships did last longer because not because we settled, but because a lot of people were getting hurt and nobody cared if the other party was okay. You know, you need to let go of that because that doesn't make you a better woman. Taking the punches doesn't make you a better woman. And I feel like I personally, and I'm going to say this wholeheartedly, I love men. I feel like I've always put men on a pedestal because I know how important they are. I know I could have never bared a child unless I had a man. I know that as strong as I am, I need a man to lift. You know what I mean? I need a man to provide. I feel like men are so necessary. Like I feel whole when I am in the presence of a man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a man would know, when to cater to the needs of his lady or that woman. So I'm not gonna want to leave because regardless of what we're going through, I know that that man is really my partner, and my strength. So there's no need for me to say, "Oh, we had an argument. It's over." You know what I mean? You guys are gonna mutually be doing what we were meant to do. So.
That's very important. I think also you were mentioning about like people, like our like generations past, like the boomers and stuff. You know, for instance, like my parents have been married over 50 years, and I grew up seeing like the picket fence and like knowing that's what I wanted for my life and stuff. Not seeing the behind the scenes that there was actual issues. You know what I mean? And so I think like in that time, I don't feel like women really had the independence to be like and the freedom to just be like, hey, this is a problem. It was just like just deal with it. Back in the
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They didn't have there's no support. You know what I mean? And I don't agree with what's going on now where like we're constantly badging with men and we're constantly telling the person to leave. Like, oh, we gotta be city girls. Like, I don't agree with that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I do understand and I do recognize that in order for them relationships to be as long as they were, the woman had to take a lot of abuse. You know what I'm saying? And abuse is not just physical. Because I came from a country, DR, where men would have multiple families. Like, do you know the pain? And you would stay because your family, like, if you try to divorce, like, your family will look at you like you're crazy. It's like now that I'm close with my family, I know that they have a hard time accepting me because I'm very much like, oh, I'm not putting up with none of that. You know what I mean? And they're still very much into what they grew up with. And I see the lack of joy and happiness, because they were in those relationships. But and it's not like I'm just blaming the man because that's what they were taught. Like that's what they grew up with. So how would they know any different? But women just allowed themselves to kind of like be stepped on and treated not always like a human being should be treated. And I'm like, I don't agree with that.
I feel like, I think people assume that tradition means something that's positive, but tradition doesn't always mean it was a good tradition. It's just something that was handed down. In this case, tradition equals trauma. Trauma that's passed from this female generation to the next group of women to the next. And if you deviate in any type of way, they're like, what's wrong with you? When you're just actually standing on your own 2 feet and doing what it is you need to do to get out of that situation. What would you tell, like, if you could go back to your country and just talk to like a bunch of women, like, what would you tell them? Like, if you had 10 minutes with them, what are some things you would say to be like, you know what, to encourage them to get out of that abusive relationship where it kind of makes sense?
I think that the one thing I will always tell them is, do you want your child to go through that? Do you want your child to experience that? And then I would tell them to be honest with themselves, because I feel like sometimes you think you have self-worth and you have none, and again, I've been there. So I would tell them that there is strength in saying no. There's power in standing up for yourself. Women are so amazingly engineered. It's freaking amazing, because honestly, we don't have to yell. Like you could disarm a man being sweet so easily. And we really have, how, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up with the saying that said, kind of like, your vagina is like the golden pot, right? Mm-hmm. And you have the power. And it's true. And it's not about the sex, but men were put here to chase us, even if that's not, and for those that don't identify with gender, like, I don't want to be offensive, but the cycle is, you got to want me or I got to want you. You know what I'm saying? So you have the power, and you have to know how to use that power. You have to learn how to execute. When a man wants a woman sets the boundaries, but you have to set them from the very beginning, so that a man understands what he's getting himself into, and then he can identify if this is what I want to get myself into. So when you are stripped of that power because you don't know how to say no, or because you accept things that are lesser than you, then you fall victim to that behavior. And that's nobody's fault but yours, honestly. I would say to them, take control. I would say to them, be graceful in your power, and do with that what you will. Because, like, I know for me, I set the tone for how I'm supposed to be treated. And this is why I do the things that I do. This is why I maintain a lifestyle, and I treat myself in a certain way, so that if someone enters my life, they know that that's how it's supposed to align, because I'm going to accept nothing less than that. But it starts with you.
Yeah.
It definitely does. Like, everything that you just said is so important for young women, hell, all women, because let's be honest, if you haven't learned it at some point, you're going to continue with that same behavior. It's just so important for us to really love on ourselves, pat ourselves on the back when something positive happens or when we have a new accomplishment, because we do beat ourselves up as women. And like you said, we have to realize our power. The box can be powerful, y'all. It can be so powerful. So like Esmy is teaching, because I feel like she's up here teaching us tonight. Like, she's teaching us, learn how to tap into your female essence in a positive way. Turn that sex appeal into some power, like a queen, or you're kind of, you got them around your finger, literally. It can happen. So I really appreciate, your perspective and what you're bringing, to the table, because a lot of women miss that altogether. They're just, tunnel vision of, okay, I'll take care of all the domestic stuff and he can do whatever, he can cheat, but at least I'm taking care of home like I'm supposed to. Nah, you matter as well, like you're saying. So,
And that's she's talking relationship. What she's saying, it makes me think about past jobs I've had where I'm just like, enough's enough, but I didn't have a voice, or I wasn't like kissing ass to like be like friends with the boss or whatever. I wasn't doing any of those things. So it just makes me go back and like, damn, I wish, back then I had what I have now, that knowledge and that power to be like, you know what, I don't need y'all.
Because it's so easy to just say no. You know what I mean? Or like you say, your job. If someone talks to you in a rude way, you're entitled to go to HR. You're entitled to have a sit down with your boss. You know what I'm saying? But if you let it slide the first time, they know you're gonna allow it again. So guess what? I'm coming harder the next time. So it's kind of like that. If you have a friend who's constantly badgering you and you don't tell her the first time, like, I don't like for you to talk to me like that, or I don't like you calling me a B. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, if you don't say it to people and people don't know how to treat you, they're gonna treat you however they want to treat you. So the key is and again, you don't have to yell. There's no need for that. You know what I'm saying? You stand in your power and you tell them no. Or you tell them this is how I want to be addressed. Like, we don't have to go back and forth. This is what I don't like. So now you have two choices. That I'm either gonna have to fix my tone or I'm gonna keep going to HR. So the same thing, with a man. You either fix this or you go be with the next person. Because I know I am, and that's
So
it.
I have a trick question with what you said. So there's been a video circulating that I saw that it's a high school, so it's a high school teacher and student. So the teacher takes the phone away, and the little girl's like, "Oh no, you're not gonna get in my face. You're not gonna talk to me like this. You don't give me my phone back." And of course, the argument ensues. They start going at it. She slaps the teacher. So, at this point, he's just like, "I'm about to show you about yourself," and he ends up hitting the girl and knocking her on. I don't know if y'all seen this video; it's wild. But for that situation, we're talking about staying in true to who you are and everything. Like, what would you have done in that situation?
First of all, that's not staying true to who you are. Um, you're in a school setting.
Mhm.
The rules are the rules, and the rules apply to everybody there. You're there to learn. Obviously, he's a man.
Mhm.
He's a professional. You're teaching me. My power is not in hitting you. My power is not in arguing. He could have easily had her escorted. He could have easily had her in detention. Like, he could have did a lot of things. Now you messed up your whole livelihood for what? For a moment. So that has nothing to do with you not tolerating and sticking to yourself. That young lady felt very entitled. She's very spoiled, and if that was my daughter, she would be facing some repercussions. Because even as an adult, if my daughter came home and told me she did that, we will have words.
Right.
Because you're in this, you got to know what to do when to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm different people in different settings. That's just the truth. If you look at my Instagram, like, I can be having this conversation and then you hear me having on other podcasts and you're like, wait, this is not the same girl. But there's is the truth. You know what I mean? You have to conduct yourself according to what's going on. That was crazy on both ends.
Mhm.
He's gonna forever be that teacher. Where else he lost his pension? Like,
Right.
what are you doing? And this young lady, like, girl, now you got assaulted. Now that's the pain that I told you we'd be seeking. You looked for that.
Mhm.
That's nobody's fault but your own.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's just what it is.
That's crazy.
So, what would you say, Esme, to young ladies that are entering the entertainment industry or modeling? Because I know that we kind of all are into that as well. And they're on a set maybe or a video shoot, photo shoot, and they are violated in some way or some aspect. I feel a lot of them, right, it happens a lot. So if they're letting this happen, like what are some things that you would tell women to have strictly, kind of what do they do in that situation?
So
I'm just
I'm,
let
I'm
you.
gonna start. I'm gonna start off by saying, you set the tone. That doesn't mean because you set the tone. That doesn't mean that the other person is not gonna do what they're gonna do, because some people are just scum, and unfortunately, um, so many young ladies think that they need to do specific things to get to where they're going. So it has kind of messed up their brains where they think they can just treat you and do whatever they want. So there's a lot of things you can do to protect yourself. Me, for instance, I tell them I don't go anywhere without my manager. So if you're booking me, my manager is going to be present. I have a big, strong, you know what I'm saying? Manager. My manager's going to scare you away. But for the ladies that don't have that, bring a friend, because there's power in numbers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't ever think that you need to allow anybody to violate you in order for you to move to the next. That's not it. When you let somebody know that you're not doing it and then you go speak about it, trust me, they're more, because we have social media now, they're more worried about it than you are. Pull out your phone, record, share it, speak about it, so that other young ladies don't do it. But do not allow anybody to, number one, talk down on you, disrespect you, touch you. None of that is necessary. Not all money is good money. The minute you feel uncomfortable, you walk off set. Who's gonna stop you? And you better have 911 on dial, because I do, and I'm
Period.
not afraid to use it. Um, there's no need to feel like what's going on with you is not important, because it is. But again, like, try to do things with numbers. Try to do it with other ladies or your manager. Make sure that the conversation from the very beginning is strictly business. Let them know from the very beginning what you're okay with, what you're not okay with. Because another thing, some people may think that because you're doing a video and the video involves twerking or it involves you wearing little clothes, they're entitled to touch you. And that's not the case. You're there doing your job just like any other job, and they're gonna treat you like a human being, the way you're supposed to be treated. So you allow them to know from the very beginning. And another thing I don't do, I form relationships. I don't form friendships in this business. I don't want to be your friend. I want you to continue to book me. So I want to come on time, because me being on time is gonna allow you to know that I'm a professional. I'm not getting drunk on set. I'm not drinking on set, because that's what they do. They introduce you to all this liquor and all this weed. I don't smoke, but I'm not smoking. You know what I mean? I'm gonna hold all those recreational things for when I'm outside of doing, because it's my job. I came to be sober and I came to do a job, pay me. That's it. So there's a lot of things that we can do to allow them to understand that this is business, and it's not going to go past business. But the minute you feel uncomfortable, you walk out of there and then you let everybody know that you were violated, because people need to know.
And that's important. You said, ladies, y'all can leave set, okay? If you feel uncomfortable, leave. Regardless of what paperwork was signed or anything, because guess what? A criminal case will outweigh a contract, okay? Leave. Just like she said, you're not obligated to stay.
Because I know that there's a lot of different laws, but like in Jersey, I can record and I can, without letting somebody, I can record. I know in New York you can't, but in New York, you can voice record, not facially record. So the audio can be taken out. Pull out your phone, because that's gonna be your witness. But stand up for yourself. It doesn't Standing up for myself does not consist of me arguing with that person either. Because if it's a man or a woman, they're gonna and they overpower you, then you're done. You have to be smart about the situation. Okay, I feel violated, but I'm gonna walk away and then I'm gonna take the necessary actions. And you follow through with it, because when you tell somebody I'm gonna call the cops, so I'm gonna put a restraint, and you don't do it, that sets the tone also. So I'm very adamant. Like I don't have LOL conversations with people that I'm working with. I'm not doing none of that. I'm gonna come, I'm gonna be very, very pleasant. I'm gonna do my job and I'm gonna walk away. Period.
There you go. And just keeping receipts is so important too, like regardless. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are just like, no, it's okay. No, it's not. You have to have receipts.
And take your down payment first. Take your booking fee first. I never enter a room until you pay me the rest of my booking fee balance. Period. Because if not, I'll walk away, but I still have your deposit.
Yeah.
And letting them people know in the text message or however it is that they hire you that you do not give back deposits, that's also very important.
I know that's right, girl. Yes.
Esmy, you're just touching on something points. It's just a spew of just the real, and you're just giving it to the viewers. So we appreciate you so much for bringing your raw, true self to the platform. I mean, I didn't expect anything less. So thank you so much. Tell everybody who's not following you where they can follow you and what you got going on going into 2024.
Guys, so many projects. So all of my platforms, Esme_V, all of them. Facebook, all of them. That's my name. My website is Esme V as well. I have a calendar coming out, 2024 calendar. The red carpet event is gonna be in Harlem. It's gonna be November 25th. Come meet up with me. It's gonna be a movie. I'm doing a turkey giveaway also November 19th in Harlem. I'm gonna be doing a toy drive. I'm gonna be doing a coat drive. I love giving back to the community because I came from sleeping in park benches and I need to give back. I'm also setting up classes on how to become an influencer and how to get paid by all these social media platforms. I hear too many influencers talking about they're not getting paid. And this is what I do full time. So if I can do it, you can do it. And you don't need the numbers. Start today. I don't care if you have 300 followers. If you decide this is what you want to do and you keep it going, consistency is key. So I have a lot of women empowering events that I'm gonna get into. I do have a podcast myself that I'm gonna be coming out with. So stay tuned for that. And other than that, guys, I'm just gonna be living, not just existing. That's it.
I know that's right. Living, not just existing. Y'all heard it first from Esmy V. I mean, just so many gems that she dropped. Pamela, I know you can attest to it too. Like, she is really spinning us and let us know what it really is. So we appreciate you so much. And for all the viewers, make sure you be interactive. Like, comment. Make sure you like, subscribe. Don't just watch us. Subscribe to the channel. Show some love. Let's get interactive in the comment section. And like I always say, this is Nia J in closing. I have my beautiful co-host,
Pamela Nicole.
And until next time, this is Dynasty.
Adios.